Ladies and gentlemen, listen up, because what I'm about to say could be the difference between surviving this next decade or being left behind, disillusioned, powerless. We are entering a season of darkness, a time when the foundations many believed were unshakable, America, the UK, the bastions of free markets, stability, global influence, those foundations are cracking, and if you don't wake up now, if you don't prepare, you will find yourself powerless, a victim of forces you never saw coming. From zero to CEO, that journey isn't just about making money or building a company. It's about vision. It's about seeing what others ignore. It's about acting when others delay. So today, I want to show you the alarm bells ringing in America and the UK, the warning signs that most people refuse to accept, and how you can turn that fear into fuel. Because decline doesn't have to be your fate. It can be your launching pad. Every empire, every nation that once stood at the top of the world believed its dominance would last forever. They thought their systems were unshakable, their wealth was infinite, their institutions indestructible. But history proves otherwise. If you take the time to study the trajectory of the great powers before us, you'll see the same pattern repeating over and over again. Rome, Spain, the Ottoman Empire, the British Empire, they all had their golden age, they all expanded, they all dominated trade, technology, culture, and the military stage. And yet, despite all their strength, they decayed from within before they were conquered from the outside. That is the harsh truth. Decline always begins internally. It is never the enemy at the gates that destroys an empire first. It is the rot inside the walls. The signs usually start small. Governments spend more than they earn, debt piles up, and the currency that once symbolized stability starts losing value. Citizens feel this as inflation, rising costs, and declining purchasing power. At first, leaders dismiss it as temporary, something manageable, a minor inconvenience. But history shows us that once debt becomes unmanageable, it changes everything. Rome debased its currency with cheaper metals. Britain was drained by endless wars. And today we see similar signs, printing money to buy time instead of solving structural issues. Once money loses its trust, society starts losing its trust too. Then comes the political fragmentation. In the early days of an empire, leaders are often united by a clear vision. They build, they conquer, they innovate, they create systems that attract talent and reward effort. But as wealth accumulates, complacency sets in, factions rise, leaders fight not for the nation, but for their own interests. The culture of responsibility turns into a culture of entitlement. Citizens who once worked hard to build now expect rewards without effort. Leaders who once sacrificed for the people now enrich themselves. The unity that built the empire crumbles into division that eats away at its foundations. Every great power that collapsed experienced this internal political war long before its external enemies took advantage. Another undeniable pattern is the decline in innovation and productivity. Early in their rise, empires are fueled by breakthroughs. They invent, they create, they push boundaries. That's how they dominate. But once power is established, the incentive to innovate weakens. Bureaucracy expands, regulations multiply, and risk-taking is punished rather than rewarded. Talent begins to leave, or worse, never even tries. Productivity stalls, and the empire slowly loses its edge. By the time they realize others have surpassed them, it's too late. The Ottomans ignored the Industrial Revolution while Europe surged ahead. Britain clung to outdated industries while America embraced new technologies. Now we see the same danger as rising nations invest aggressively in technology, infrastructure, and education, while the old powers argue over politics and cling to old systems. Cultural decay follows close behind. When people stop believing in hard work, discipline, and sacrifice, decline accelerates. Entertainment becomes more important than achievement. Comfort takes priority over courage. Values that once united the people erode. The citizens of Rome once lived by duty and discipline, but by the time the empire fell, they were obsessed with bread and circuses, distracted by entertainment while corruption hollowed their government. The parallels are chilling. Today, distraction is everywhere, and it's no accident. The more people drown themselves in noise, the less they see the cracks forming in their society, and then comes overextension. Every empire, in its pride, tries to control too much. Rome stretched itself too thin, defending borders it could no longer afford. Britain extended across the globe until its navy and finances couldn't keep up. At first, expansion looks like strength, but when resources are limited and enemies are many, overreach becomes a fatal weakness. The world stage is unforgiving. Once others sense weakness, they push harder. That's how giants fall, not in one day, but piece by piece, until their dominance is history. If you look at these patterns side by side, you can almost draw a timeline. First comes the rise, innovation, discipline, courage. Then comes prosperity, wealth, power, influence. Then the comfort, complacency, entitlement, distraction. And finally, the decline, debt, division, decay, overextension. The tragedy is that most citizens never believe it's happening in real time. They think collapse is impossible until they wake up and realize the decline has already passed the point of no return. But there is something to take away from this brutal cycle. Every decline carries within it a lesson. Those who refuse to see perish with the empire. Those who open their eyes early, adapt, and prepare often rise in the next cycle. Because even as one power falls, opportunity always shifts to those bold enough to seize it. That's how new nations, new companies, new leaders are born. The lesson isn't to fear the cycle, but to understand it. History doesn't repeat word for word, but it rhymes loudly enough for anyone willing to listen. And if you understand the rhyme, you'll never be caught off guard. Look around you. Don't just scroll through headlines. Don't just listen to the noise. Actually look. The warning signs are not hidden. They're in plain sight, flashing like neon, but most people are too distracted or too comfortable to pay attention. They'd rather pretend everything is fine, that the system will take care of them, that tomorrow will look like yesterday. But that's the exact mindset that gets people blindsided. The truth is, the cracks are already here, and ignoring them doesn't make them go away. It only makes the fall harder. Start with the economy. The cost of living is climbing faster than paychecks. Families that once lived comfortably on one income now struggle on two. Debt is ballooning not just for governments, but for households, for students, for small businesses. Credit cards are maxed out. People are borrowing just to cover basic expenses, and yet everyone is told this is temporary. That's the same lie that every failing system tells before reality catches up. When people can no longer afford the basics, when food and shelter feel like luxuries, you know the foundation is already unstable. Then look at the political climate. Division is no longer just about ideas. It's personal, it's hostile, it's tearing communities apart. The middle ground is shrinking. People no longer see each other as fellow citizens with differences. They see each other as enemies. Every election, every debate, every law passed is soaked in anger, resentment, and mistrust. Leaders aren't solving problems. They're fueling the fire because outrage keeps attention, and attention keeps them in power. This isn't just dysfunction, it's corrosion. A divided house cannot stand, and history has proven that time and again. Productivity is another warning sign. Entire generations are losing the hunger to build. Once, innovation was the heartbeat of progress. Now, bureaucracy, red tape, and fear of risk have created a culture where it's easier to complain than to create, easier to consume than to contribute. In too many places, the brightest minds are trapped in systems that reward compliance over creativity. That's how decline accelerates. It's not because people lack talent, but because their energy is suffocated by the very institutions meant to support them. Meanwhile, rising competitors in other parts of the world are building, innovating, experimenting, and moving forward, while the so-called leaders of the global stage debate endlessly and achieve little. There's also the erosion of trust. People don't believe in their institutions anymore. They don't trust the media. They don't trust corporations. They don't trust politicians. And why should they? Scandals, corruption, lies, and incompetence have been exposed over and over again. When people stop believing in the systems that govern them, chaos fills the vacuum. Some withdraw completely. Some look for extreme alternatives. Some turn on each other. Trust, once broken, is not easily rebuilt, and no empire, no nation, no society can survive long without it. Look at culture. Entertainment has replaced achievement. Distraction has replaced discipline. People spend more time scrolling than building, more energy arguing online than solving problems offline. Entire industries are built around keeping people numb, entertained, and pacified while real problems fester. And people welcome it because it's easier to binge than to face reality. Bread and circuses once lulled the citizens of Rome while their empire collapsed around them. Today, it's screens and feeds. The effect is the same. A population too distracted to notice the decline happening right in front of them. Social unrest is rising. Protests, strikes, and demonstrations are no longer rare events. They are constant. People feel unheard, unseen, left behind. Anger is building in the streets, and while some brush it off as just noise, history teaches us that noise becomes fire when pressure has no release. Add to this the erosion of safety in cities, the rise in crime, and the growing sense that the system is failing to protect its people, and you can see why the future looks unstable. Technology, which should be a lifeline, has become a double-edged sword. On one hand, it offers solutions, opportunities, breakthroughs. On the other hand, it has created dependency and vulnerability. Cyber threats, misinformation, mass surveillance, all of these weaken societies from within. Instead of using technology to strengthen resilience, too many are using it to escape reality. And when reality finally breaks through, no app, no distraction, no digital escape will stop it. Even on the world stage, the signs are clear. The dominance that once seemed untouchable is being challenged. Other nations are rising, building alliances, investing in infrastructure, growing stronger while the old powers fight amongst themselves. Influence is shifting, power is rebalancing, and yet too many act as if the old order is permanent. It isn't. History is merciless in this way. Those who cling to past glory while ignoring present weakness always wake up too late. These aren't distant possibilities. They're happening now. The warning signs aren't subtle. They're screaming. The question is whether you have the courage to acknowledge them, the discipline to prepare, the clarity to act. Because the majority won't. The majority will distract themselves until the system fails them. But if you can see what's happening in real time, if you can read the signs and adjust your course, you won't just survive the storm, you'll rise through it. The difference between those who are crushed and those who thrive is simple: awareness and action. Awareness to recognize that the old promises no longer hold, and action to build a life that doesn't depend on fragile systems. Most will ignore the warnings until they have no choice but to face the consequences. But the few who stay alert, who stay disciplined, who use these signs as a call to sharpen their vision, those few will own the future. The harsh reality is this: no government, no institution, no employer, no leader is coming to save you. If you're waiting for a system to fix itself, if you're waiting for someone to hand you security, you're already lost. The world is shifting faster than ever, the safety nets are tearing, and the only thing you can truly control is yourself, your mindset, your discipline, your choices. That's not just motivational talk, it's survival. In uncertain times, the people who thrive aren't the ones with the best connections or the biggest inheritance. They're the ones who take radical personal responsibility for their lives. Responsibility means owning every outcome, good or bad. If you succeed, it's because you did the work. If you fail, it's because you didn't adapt. Blame, excuses, pointing fingers. Those are the luxuries of people who want to stay stuck. History doesn't reward victims, it rewards builders. The mindset shift starts the moment you stop saying, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What can I do about it?" That single question separates those who crumble from those who rise. Think about it. When the economy shakes, when jobs disappear, when costs rise, most people panic. They complain about leaders, corporations, circumstances. They drown in frustration, but a small fraction ask, "How can I turn this chaos into an opportunity? What skill do I need to learn? What problem can I solve? What value can I create?" That's the entrepreneurial mindset. It doesn't matter whether you run a business or not. This is about being the CEO of your own life. You take ownership, you take control, you act like the buck stops with you. The world is full of distractions designed to pull you away from responsibility. Comfort, entertainment, endless arguments online, the illusion that you'll be fine if you just keep waiting. But comfort is the enemy of growth. Every time you choose distraction over discipline, you're handing away your future. Every hour wasted on noise is an hour you could have invested in becoming sharper, stronger, more prepared. The truth is, responsibility feels heavy in the moment, but in the long run it's freedom. Because when you own your choices, no one else can dictate your outcome. Mindset is everything. If you see problems as walls, you'll always stop at the first obstacle. If you see problems as doors, you'll push through and find opportunities on the other side. That's the difference between stagnation and progress. The mindset of resilience says, yes, times are dark. Yes, challenges are real, but that means I'm being tested, and if I pass the test, I'll emerge stronger than ever. The people who embrace that perspective are the ones who thrive when others collapse. This isn't just about money. It's about health, relationships, knowledge, and character. If you don't take responsibility for your body, don't be surprised when your health fails you. If you don't take responsibility for your relationships, don't act shocked when they fall apart. If you don't take responsibility for your learning, don't complain when the world outpaces you. Responsibility is all encompassing. It's not a switch you flip in one part of your life and ignore in another. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Discipline in one area bleeds into another, just as neglect spreads across your whole life. Now, let's talk about fear. Fear is the number one reason people avoid responsibility. They fear failing, fear being judged, fear not being good enough. So they hide behind excuses. It's not the right time. The system is against me. I don't have the resources. But fear never goes away. The only way to beat it is by moving forward in spite of it. Every great leader, every innovator, every self-made success faced fear head on. They didn't wait to feel ready. They acted, and through action, they became ready. That's the mindset shift. Fear becomes fuel. Another key piece is accountability. Responsibility without accountability is fragile. You have to set standards for yourself so high that you can't afford to drop them. Stop negotiating with your own weakness. Stop giving yourself a way out. If you decide you're going to build, then build every day, no matter what. If you decide you're going to get stronger, then train whether you feel like it or not. Discipline is not about motivation, it's about commitment. And once you hardwire that mindset, your results become inevitable. The irony is, the moment you accept full responsibility, you actually gain power. Most people think avoiding responsibility gives them freedom, but it only gives them dependence. True freedom is when you can stand in the middle of chaos and say, I will figure this out, I will adapt, I will build. No matter what, I will find a way. That is the mindset of someone who refuses to be crushed by circumstances. That is the mindset that separates leaders from followers. Every decline in history has wiped out the passive and elevated the prepared. And preparation always begins in the mind. If you believe someone else is in charge of your fate, you've already lost. But if you choose to be in charge of yourself, nothing can stop you. The storm may be brutal, the decline may be real, but responsibility and mindset are the lifeboats that carry you through. So the choice is in front of you every single day. Stay blind, stay distracted, stay dependent, or rise, own your life, and rewrite your story. Because no one else is going to do it for you. The clock is ticking, the world is shifting, and the future will belong to those who take responsibility now. Every crisis feels like the end of the world when you're living through it. The news screams collapse, people panic, markets tumble, uncertainty spreads like wildfire. But step back for a moment and look at history. Every major crisis has also been the birthplace of opportunity. When the old order breaks down, when weak systems fail, when complacency is punished, that's when the sharp, the prepared, the bold step in and rise. Crisis is not just danger, it's also the raw material of transformation. The only question is, will you freeze and watch, or will you seize the moment and build? The truth is, opportunity rarely announces itself in good times. When everything is stable, when money is flowing, when society feels comfortable, most people aren't looking for change. They're too busy enjoying the ride. But when systems collapse, when fear grips the majority, the game resets. That's when hidden doors open. That's when the wealth, power, and influence of tomorrow start shifting hands. The people who can see through the chaos and act with courage take positions that others are too afraid to touch. By the time the masses wake up, the moment is gone. Think about the Great Depression. For most, it was devastation. Jobs lost, families broken, despair everywhere. But for a few, it was the chance to buy assets, land, and businesses at prices that would never be seen again. They saw what others didn't, that every collapse is temporary and recovery always follows. Those who took bold action during the darkest years set themselves up for generational wealth. The same story repeated in the 2008 financial crisis. While most people sold in panic, a small group bought when fear was at its peak. They turned that crisis into a foundation for massive growth. But opportunity in crisis is not just about money, it's about positioning, it's about leadership. When everyone else is paralyzed, the person who stands up and offers solutions becomes indispensable. When businesses shut down, the entrepreneur who adapts to new needs dominates. When institutions crumble, the individual with vision builds alternatives. Crisis strips away the illusion of stability and reveals what's truly valuable: resilience, adaptability, and courage. And those who embody those traits don't just survive, they thrive. The mindset required here is the opposite of panic. Panic blinds you. It makes you follow the herd, and the herd always runs straight off the cliff. To find opportunity in crisis, you need clarity. You need to detach from the fear and see the patterns others miss. Ask yourself, what new problems are emerging? What needs are not being met? Where is attention shifting? That's where the doors are. Crisis always creates new demand. People still need food, shelter, security, community, and solutions. They just need them in different ways. If you can provide that, you will not only weather the storm, you will own the next era. Crisis also exposes weaknesses. Businesses that looked strong reveal fragile foundations. Leaders who seemed confident show their incompetence. Systems that claimed to be stable collapse under pressure. For most, this feels terrifying, but for the prepared, it's a roadmap. Weaknesses are where opportunities lie. If a company fails to deliver, you can. If a leader fails to lead, you can step in. If a system fails to protect, you can build a better one. The cracks are not just signs of decay. They're entry points for those willing to move fast. Another critical truth is that crisis lowers the barrier to entry. In good times, industries are crowded, markets are overpriced, and competition is fierce. In crisis, many players exit the game. Fear drives them out, scarcity weakens them, and only the resilient remain. That vacuum creates space for new ideas, new businesses, new leaders. If you've been waiting for your chance, crisis is the moment when the noise quiets and the field opens. But you have to be ready to step in when others step out. Opportunity in crisis also demands adaptability. The old playbook won't work because the rules are changing. You can't cling to what was. You have to embrace what is emerging. This means being willing to pivot, to learn new skills, to let go of what no longer serves you. The businesses and individuals who adapt fastest to new realities always capture the most upside. It's not the strongest who survive, it's the most adaptable. The ability to turn on a dime, to reimagine your approach, is the most valuable skill you can develop when the world feels like it's collapsing. Let's be clear, most people will miss these opportunities because they're blinded by fear. They'll hold onto the past, they'll wait for permission, they'll waste their energy complaining instead of building. That's why the gap between those who seize crisis and those who suffer through it grows so wide. The few who act gain leverage that compounds for years. While the majority rebuild slowly, the bold are already running ahead. So when you hear talk of decline, don't just focus on the danger. Ask yourself, what's being destroyed and what will replace it? What industries are dying and what industries are being born? What skills are losing value and what new skills are becoming indispensable? If you can answer those questions with clarity, you'll find the opportunities hidden in plain sight. Crisis is inevitable. It always has been. But decline doesn't have to mean defeat. It can be the stage where you step forward, where you redefine your path, where you build something stronger than before. The storm is coming whether you like it or not, but storms don't just destroy. They also clear the air. They remove the weak, they open space, they plant the seeds of a new era. If you choose to see the opportunity, if you choose to act with courage, this could be the most important season of your life. The time for theory is over. You've seen the warning signs, you've heard the patterns, and you understand the stakes. Now comes the only part that truly matters: action, because knowledge without execution is wasted energy. The gap between those who survive and those who collapse is not awareness, it's discipline. Everyone says they want to be ready, everyone says they want to build, but few take the daily steps that turn words into results. The clock is ticking, and every day you delay, you're handing away your future. So here's what you do starting today. The first step is self-education. Stop depending on institutions, stop relying on filtered news, stop being spoon-fed half-truths. You need to own your learning. Read about economics, study history, understand technology, explore geopolitics. These are not abstract topics. They shape your life. If you don't understand how money works, you'll always be controlled by those who do. If you don't see historical patterns, you'll always be surprised when they repeat. And if you don't grasp where technology is heading, you'll be left behind in industries that are vanishing. Carve out time every single day to sharpen your mind. A sharp mind sees opportunities others miss. Next, build multiple streams of income. Depending on one paycheck, one job, one fragile system is a recipe for disaster. If that stream dries up, you're done. But if you create several, you gain resilience. This doesn't mean you need to launch 5 businesses overnight. It means start small. Maybe it's a side hustle, freelancing, investing, creating digital products, or building skills that can be monetized. Over time, these streams grow. The point is to break free from dependency on a single source. Wealth is not about luck, it's about design. Design your life so that no single failure can wipe you out. The third step is health. Sounds simple, but most ignore it until it's too late. If you don't have energy, strength, and resilience in your body, you won't have it in your mind. And without that, no plan matters. Take control of your fitness, your diet, your sleep. Build habits that make you stronger, not weaker, because when crisis hits, you need endurance. Weakness will break you faster than the economy ever could. Discipline your body, and you'll find discipline flows into every other area of your life. Then comes building networks. No one thrives alone. In every collapse, in every rebuilding, those who had allies rose fastest. Surround yourself with people who think bigger, act sharper, and refuse to settle. Cut ties with those who drag you down, those who drown in excuses and negativity. Your circle determines your ceiling. Build relationships with people who push you to grow, who share knowledge, who create opportunities. In the darkest times, your network becomes your safety net, your launchpad, and your lifeline. Another vital step is learning adaptability. The world you knew is not the world you're stepping into. Industries will vanish, careers will become obsolete, and systems will reset. If you cling to the past, you'll sink with it. Train yourself to pivot. Learn new skills quickly, embrace change instead of resisting it, and stay light enough to move when opportunity shifts. Flexibility is not weakness, it's survival. The rigid tree breaks in the storm. The flexible one bends and endures. Start also by reducing dependency. Look at where you're most vulnerable. Do you depend entirely on a bank account that could be frozen, a government program that could vanish, a company that could collapse? Remove those weak links. Build savings, build assets, build independence. Even small steps add up. A little cash saved, a little debt reduced, a little investment made it compound. Every step toward independence is a step away from vulnerability. Control your information diet. Most people are drowning in noise, panic, and propaganda. They're fed fear daily, and they can't think clearly because of it. Be intentional about what you consume. Replace endless scrolling with learning. Replace shallow arguments with in-depth study. Replace distraction with clarity. Information is power, but only if you filter it wisely. A distracted mind can't see opportunities even if they're right in front of it. A focused mind sees through the fog. Take action every single day, no matter how small. Waiting for the perfect moment is a trap. The perfect moment never comes. You start where you are with what you have and you move forward. Write the plan, make the call, learn the skill, launch the idea. Crisis rewards speed. The ones who act while others hesitate lock in the advantage. Momentum builds when you commit daily and finally adopt a long-term perspective. The storm may last years, not weeks. If you expect overnight success, you'll quit before you even see results. Play the long game. Build habits, systems, and strategies that compound over time. Plant seeds now that may not grow for months or years. That's how resilience is created, by thinking beyond the immediate chaos and investing in the future. The action plan is simple but not easy. Educate yourself, build income streams, strengthen your body, cultivate networks, adapt quickly, reduce dependency, filter information, act daily, and think long term. That's the blueprint. Most won't follow it because it requires discipline, but discipline is the price of freedom. If you start today, not tomorrow, not someday, you separate yourself from the herd immediately. The difference between being a victim of decline and a builder of the future comes down to execution. The world is shifting whether you act or not. The only choice you have is whether you'll be carried by the tide or whether you'll use it to propel yourself forward. Start now, because every day you wait is one less day to prepare, one less day to grow, one less day to build the future you want. Now, I could leave you with alarm, but alarm without action is wasted emotion. The decline of America and the UK is not guaranteed, it's a possibility. And if enough of us refuse to be passive, if enough of us step up, the story can change, but it starts with you. It starts with the realization that the world as you knew it is shifting. It starts with that moment you decide, I will not sit back. I will not be forgotten. I will build. I will lead. From zero to CEO is more than a tagline. It is a commitment, a promise to yourself that when the lights dim, you will be the torchbearer. That when others lose hope, you will find your path. That when the storm hits, you will not be swept away. You will steer. So go. Begin today. Take one bold decision. Make one strategic investment in yourself. Learn one skill, forge one alliance, because either you are going to be part of the collapse or you are going to shape what comes next. Thank you. Go build your future. Let this moment be the turning point.